Hi, we are now live in talk with New Era Moms. The co-hosts are, well, I call you Nanny Stella, I'm sorry. It's Stella Rivvid and Luly B, and myself, Valeska Jacques. We all got together actually with the internet, thanks to the internet. I saw Luly's Facebook profile through a friend of mine and saw how she was working it down there in Miami, Florida, and launching her new book about mompreneur and the life of what it's like being a mom and balancing work and family. And I asked my friend Ann Friedman, owner of the Wild Pitch app and also Speak Out, that I need to meet this woman. She's really fits the profile of the person that I'm looking for as far as a mommy channel that I was already running on my personal website and looking to expand with other hosts that we can have. And she went ahead and made the introduction, and from there we've been in touch since then. And great synergy off the bat. Right away we really clicked immediately and have so much in common, which is really scary. So he even says, I feel like I met you in another life. So really great. Stella, same thing. She actually found my mommyandmenetworking.com website that I also run on the side. One of my core missions is really bridging in you know, moms and, you know, when they host game night and just doing it in a fun way and at the same time that's very educational for kids. And so I was running these mommy, I would say Mommy and Me networkers at the Automotive Peterson Museum at the time. She found me through my website and reached out to me, and since then we've been in communication and letting her know this is what we're gonna do and launch. And from there, I drove out to meet up with her at Redondo Beach. We, you know, since then haven't stopped chit-chatting. So I wanted to bring all these ladies together because I remember seeing 911, I think even before I got pregnant. I now have two boys, a 5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. And just watching her way and her approach and being very straightforward, down to earth, like, this is what it is, and there's no joke around that. I really like that straightforward approach. It was the Nanny 911 show. And now, as a mom herself, she's definitely approaching it a little bit different. What it's like, you know, being a mom herself now and still doing what she's doing, and also coaching other nannies, because she says there's just no training out there. So she's now launched her Nanny Institute and making it happen over here in California, which I know there's a huge demand for it, because even when I just need a babysitter to just go out with my husband, they're all booked. It's very high in demand, that is for sure. And definitely support structure is so key, and really being able to run your business and still having the quality time with your husband, with your kids, and being able to manage all of that. And what really makes you successful in being able to do all of that, which is why we went ahead and say, hey, let's make that our first topic. And how are we being able to make this happen? I've run my business now for 12 years, and I ran it with my husband. And in that process, we launched Rivvid.com just last year. It's our other baby project, in which we're full on board. And in doing that, Nanny Stella now is running her own brand and now owning her own business, and she can talk a little bit more about her brand. And then now Luly B is redefining what she's been doing in the marketing field for all the years that she's been in business. I know it's been more than a decade. And now how she's redefining and coming out with her LulyB.com brand. So I'm going to bring now Luly B into the conversations about a little bit about herself and also what and how she perceives balance as a man.
Well, I actually am a little bit bold, and my mom doesn't like the fact that I tend to cuss. She says, you know, 13 years in private school, and this is what you give me. And unfortunately, yes, Mom, it is, because I'm Cuban American and we like to express ourselves very strongly. And so the way I feel about balance is that I feel that balance is bullshit. And I say that, again, just being the Cuban American that I am. I'm a Capricorn, I'm very strong-willed. And just going through my career and seeing what I really wanted and seeing the opportunities that were ahead of me for so many years. And then what happened once I became a mother, and how I struggled for so many years because I was told that all I needed to do in my life was find balance. And that once I found balance, I was going to be happy. And what I quickly realized is there's no such thing, that it's total and utter BS. It really is.
So what is balance for you? Like what is balance?
I think that as a mom, as a wife, and as an entrepreneur, it's not about balance, it's about prioritizing. And the way that I have found it to work in my life is to focus on what makes me happy. And I don't think that there is a norm. I don't think that there is a formula for it. I think that it's something very specific for you as an individual, as an entrepreneur, as a wife, and as a mother, what the priorities are in your life. Nice. And once you identify those priorities, you can then better define what's going to make you happy. And then it's gonna end up resonating not only in your career and your business, but also in the relationship that you have with your children and also in your marriage. So I'd rather say, instead of trying to find balance, I think it's more just constantly reprioritizing and making sometimes, Valeska, very, very tough decisions. I mean, I recall times when, I have my marketing company, as you mentioned, Chispa Marketing here in Miami. And there were times that I had to give up very, very special moments with my children to be there for my clients. And those were really, really tough decisions. And I don't think that you can define that as balance. I really think that you define that as prioritizing. And again, it's tough decisions that you sometimes need to make as an entrepreneur, as a mom, and as a wife. And so for me, it's more about focusing on happiness and just making sure that, that you prioritize wisely.
Definitely. Stella, what would you say?
I thought I was going to be the odd man out, so I'm quite relieved that Luly's talking about bullshit. Because I don't think balance exists. I just don't think it does. I think it is a myth. I think, it's kind of that fairy tale when you're a little girl, you're going to meet Prince Charming and live happily ever after. Or somebody says to you, you can be anything you want to be. And then you find that you're driven to the point where you're everything. You have to be everything. Career woman, super mom, good wife, good all-round, achiever. So I think the word I'd want to replace with balance is compromise.
That's a good one.
Definitely prioritizing, finding things that definitely make you happy. For me, I didn't have my son till the day before I was 47. So I'm 48 and he's a 1-year-old. So I kind of feel a little bit like Michael Douglas said, second time around. But obviously I had stepchildren, not a biological child. That I'm doing things differently now than I would have if I would have had Mason when I was younger. Like when I just heard you, Luly, say about, some of the sweet things that you had to give up for your clients. This may lose me business, but I'm not prepared to lose any sweet moments with my son.
Right.
I'm going to work at night at the moment with clients so that I can come home in the morning, sleep, my mom or my sister has my son, and then I get to spend the rest of the day with him. No disrespect to anybody else. We all have to do what works for us. And I didn't have him at the age of 47 to go to work and not be with him. So it's definitely a compromise of, I miss out on the fact that I get to sleep in my own bed at night and hang out with my husband. So there's definitely things that have shifted there. But no, for me, balance as a working mom, it doesn't exist. Compromise, yeah. Juggling act, when you're walking on that high beam, yeah, that exists, but no. Balance, in fact, I think it's a moot word, quite honestly.
Well, something I would like to say to tie in with what Luly was just expressing when it comes to priority, and you were talking about compromise, Stella, and really the bottom line is what brings you happiness. For me, it's really about being centered. So if my priorities are having that time with my husband where I have that one-on-one with him, definitely finding in, of course, time to work. It's got to get work done. And then there's the other priority in my life. And I'm just talking about big picture here, but
Yeah.
that's how I run my life, where I'm making sure I have my playtime with my boys. Because like you were talking about, you know, you didn't become a mom now so that you're working all the time.
Right.
And like I tell my mom, I choose to be an entrepreneur because I have that flexibility of time. And, you know, that's what drives me is my freedom to be able to work around my schedule and also enjoy my babies. I want to enjoy my babies. And this is like the biggest, this is the cutest, yummiest time of their life, you know? So definitely that one-on-one time with them. And then, of course, coming back to you, having that personal time for yourself. I'm really big on, you know, getting yoga and massages. That's how I get to relax. If it's also hiking too, that's my time. And then also, of course, having that with my girls. So as far as, you know, having, you know, time to hang out with my friends. So that's like what drives me. And also making sure my husband gets his personal time, because I know
Absolutely.
he gets caught up very, very quickly in what he's doing with work. And I just the other day I found that myself like coordinating a mandate for him because
That's right.
he just gets so sucked in with what he's doing that it's like, babe, you got to take a step away. And I can tell like when he's getting frustrated. And that's what it is. It's just being observant, being aware of like when you can see like when the kids need that downtime, or when the kids, you know, like my son's like, Mom, I want to go out with my dad and just have a Sprite with him. And it's like my son, for him, a Sprite is like a big treat.
Right.
And he knows that his daddy likes beer, but that's like his way of saying and reaching out, like, I need that mom, you know, that son and daddy time. So that was another thing, is finding when they need that. With my kids, that's it. It's either putting away, well, it's hard to put away the phone in case my husband needs to reach me, but just being very aware that
That's
I
right.
can't touch the phone until our playtime and that one-on-one is over. Just, if anything, it's just being in that moment where if you're going to work, make sure you got what you have to get done, and understand you can't get everything done, let's say that same day, but just being aware, okay, let me create my to-do list, and this is what I'm going to knock out the next moment. But the moment you decide to shut off and that's it, it's not time to be with your kids, it's time to be with your kids, because they feel it when you're not really there. They start getting frustrated, they start getting acting up. So as far as any tip that I can give is definitely, once you choose to be with them or be even with your husband, it's making sure you're being aware of that moment.
Absolutely.
Can you hear
And,
me
you know,
now?
Yes,
Can you hear me now?
Blanca.
Yay.
Perfect timing.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, good.
We wanted to bring Blanca into the call because I've known her for, I mean, I was her flower girl, for goodness sake, when she got married, put it that way. And, you know, I've seen
Yes,
Blanca.
I know her from when she was 5 years old. 7?
Little
She was my flower girl at my wedding. She was my flower girl, for real.
So I wanted to bring her in, seeing her all her life, you know, when she was in the real estate business and being in real estate for that long. I mean, since she was like 20 years old, and running that show for, again, more than 15 years. You know, you're an entrepreneur, and she raised her son as a single mom. I saw her go through all the steps of what it was like raising a son and going through her feast and fathom stages, as she calls it. And then now with VizRed and, you know, being in the social media world for 5 years, again, she's nonstop energy, and now her son's in college. Well, I mean, he's, what, 19 years old now, correct?
Yeah, he's in college.
Yes, he's 19 years old. He's a college boy. So it's coming, you know, we're all coming from different walk of, you know, of life. You know, Stella has her 1-year-old. I have my 5 and my 1.5-year-old, and then Luly has her, it's 6 years old, correct?
6 and 8, yes.
6 and 8 years old. And that presents different challenges. You know, when
Absolutely.
you have one child versus 2 versus a newborn, and you're managing a 4-year-old, presents total different milestones. So I wanted to bring Blanca into this because I feel it's a nice balance between what you're coming across, you know, when it's a college student versus what we're coming across with younger kids.
I just want to throw in the mix. I have a 21-year-old stepson.
Oh, wow.
Okay, wow.
So we have two ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
But you know what?
Yeah.
They're very similar ages. They still need their boundaries.
Yes.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
Blanca, you were going to say something.
Yeah,
Go for it.
well, I raised my son as a single mom since my son was 2 and he's 19, and he still lives with me. My ex-husband really didn't help me out a lot. Like, he did spend time with my ex-husband, but I'm the one that did everything with homework. I took him to all the sports, you know, so I really did 80% or 90% of everything. So I would say that right now I'm 52 and I changed my life completely. When I worked as a realtor, it was kind of nice because, you know, I could work out of my home. So I was totally dedicated to Christian. Anybody that knows me, like, he's my only son, but it was like I did everything on my own. I was like the man and the woman at the same time. And right now, because of the real estate meltdown, I had already started blogging before the meltdown, and I didn't know what to do with my life because everything just fell apart. I also had surgery the same time, that same year in the meltdown.
Oh,
So
yeah.
literally, I started blogging without knowing that I was going to get into this business. Okay, so so my challenges were a little bit different in my time, where I decided at that time that I was not, I gave up television. So you talk about priorities. I gave up television and I gave up dating men. You know, like, I really didn't date a lot of men because, you know, I've gone out a lot when I was younger. But I started doing something I love, which was I was blogging about my butterfly garden. I was just I have an inspirational blog, and I was just doing something that I loved. I didn't know how I was going to monetize. I was looking for a job during the day. And let me tell you, that year in 2008, 2009, I was in turmoil. But I was blogging at night because it made me feel good. And I would like feel good at night. And then in the day, I would be like in shambles. But then I would go blog, and then I would wake up feeling good. So when they say do what you love, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing something that I loved. I had figured out in 2007 how to work the whole technical part. Something guided me to learn all this stuff online. So really, by the time that the meltdown happened, I was actually kind of prepared, but I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of was like, you know, putting myself out there. I was connecting with people from all over the world. And then it was like I found myself here inside my house looking for a job. And then, you know, I started going to tweet ups, and I started meeting people, and I started just all of a sudden, like literally right now, 95% of my social life is people I've met on Twitter. Okay, in Miami, like local people. I go to blogging conferences. I connect with hundreds of bloggers throughout the day on our private Facebook groups. So, you know, I've gone to a lot of blogging conferences. So I have friends from all over the country that we really consider ourselves friends. So my life is very exciting now. I mean, it took me a while to get here. Like in these past 4 years, there's been a, you know, because I had to. It's not like I was, oh, okay, I'm blogging. I mean, I had to look for work and then this work kind of developed as I was progressing in my little blog. So like my brother was my first client. He gave me a check one day when I was like in total mess, and he says, I want you to do for me what you're doing at night. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. And then, you know, so that's how, like, really the prioritizing for me was giving up certain things. So I've heard some words like compromise, prioritize, but for me it would be like giving up. Like, what are you giving up that's really not so necessary? Do I miss my entertainment tonight every day? Yes, like I enjoyed that. But you know what? I even forgot about it. Like, I used to watch that show all the time for fun and relax, but I'm having so much fun in other ways. Like, I'm going to so many events, I'm meeting great people. So that being able to let go and not worry about, you know, there's only so many times in a day, right? So, you know, blogging takes a lot of time. So I have my personal blog now. I'm doing it for other clients, and I'm doing all these other, you know, digital stuff. And it's impossible. You know, you're right. Like, it's not, there is no balance. I'm telling you, as an entrepreneur, it's kind of wacky. But if you're doing something that you like, then you get more energy. So in a way. Yeah.
Absolutely, Blanca. And actually, you know, I always quote a friend of ours that told me a couple years ago, you pay now or you pay later, but we all pay. You know, I had my children in my late 20s, and I had challenges because I was moving up very quickly in my career, and then I had to kind of stunt the growth of my career of what I wanted to be that mom, and I ended up becoming an entrepreneur as a result. But you're absolutely right. It all comes at a price. you know, and it kind of goes back to what Stella was saying, you know, that she had her children, she had her son in her late 40s. So that probably provided her with a lot of perspective, especially in the line of work that she's in. She's been provided so much perspective. She knows exactly what she goes after. And unfortunately, I didn't have that. I started my marketing business because I was working in corporate America. And I was working for somebody that didn't understand why people had children. And I was afraid that when I came back after maternity leave, what was that going to be like? And I left that job and I took a pay cut to work somewhere else because it was a flexible schedule and it was a nice boss. My challenge there was that I had crashed through the glass ceiling and I wanted more. And that's when I started Chispa Marketing. But it took me 7 years to figure out what Stella just so boldly said, that I'm not going to miss out on the important things in my children's life. You see, because I was growing a business and I was trying to be it all. Again, you know, Stella, you were saying it before. You need to be Wonder Woman, and you need to be this great skinny wife, and then you need to take the kids to soccer practice in this gorgeous outfit. And you know, all of us are from big cities, so we know exactly what we're talking about. And I quickly realized that once I let all of that go and said, screw what everybody thinks, what's important to me is my marriage, my children, and my business in that order. This is what makes me happy. I'm going to forget about what I think or what the perception of a good mother or a good wife or a good entrepreneur is. And I'm going to go after my passion, like what you were saying earlier, Blanca. I'm going to go after my passion and I'm going to do what's right for me. Yeah. Then it just created this sense of clarity for me. And I am, my God, I was such a grouch before, and I am so much happier now because I've forgotten about this struggle, this constant struggle that I used to have with the quote unquote balance.
Let me just say, I didn't get pregnant till I was 47 because I had so many problems getting pregnant. Well, from the age 40. I didn't want kids till I was 40. Don't ask me why, but I had it all mapped out. I had my career, which was obviously with other people's children every day. But it was the stress. I had the stress before. Like I had multiple surgeries, and then I worked with a life coach for a year before I had my son. I thought he was going to be a business coach. And it actually just manifested into something very, very different. And what I had to do was get rid of the stress out of my life. Now, that was business, that was certain friendships, that was all sorts of, you know, different arenas. But had I not gotten rid of that stress, I really believe that I wouldn't have Mason. So believe me, when people talk to me now, they're like, oh, you're calm and, you know, you're not as... I used to be a stress head, you know. The thing is, I can't do it anymore because the price I paid before was way too much. Right. What's it going to be now if I'm a stress head because I don't do it all? It's going to be a heart attack.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, so well, I think we all end up where we end up when we're supposed to be there. Do you know what I mean? Like somebody having their kids in their 20s, somebody having their kids in their 40s. The other thing that was really bad for me is nannies are really good at taking care of everybody else, but they're not good at taking care of themselves.
That's right.
So, I mean, when we talked about the questions, one of the things that is really pertinent for me is self-care. Like Valeska said, you know, her massages. And I'm laughing because we were emailing back and forth last week, and I mentioned Friday, and oh my goodness, Friday is sacred in Valeska's house because it's happy hour. Okay? Happy hour. She wasn't making any plans on Friday, let me tell you.
That's my husband and I happy hour moment. No.
That's good. That's okay.
That's great.
I think the other word that we were missing and that is very pertinent for me is boundaries. It's your boundaries. Like, it's not that it's not important for me to be with a client, but it's more important for me to be with my son.
Right.
It's just boundaries.
Yeah.
But you see, I can, unfortunately, I can argue that point, at least in my line of work, because again, with my marketing business, with Chispa Marketing, there are times where it's a client, and I'll take one client, specifically the South Beach Wine and Food Festival. That's one of the largest wine and food festivals in the world.
Right.
And they've been my client for 7 years. And my younger son walked in my cousin's wedding, and I know I'm probably going to get a ton of slack for this, but I had to make a very tough decision. I had this client that, you know, that provides me not only a very nice retainer, but is also a continuous client. They've been a client for 7 years, and have given me access to a lot of wonderful relationships in my career. And that was, I mean, I cried that entire weekend, Stella. And I just, again, it is about boundaries, but it's also about that prioritization. And sometimes it's not always the choice that we really want. And because I see my business and the opportunities that I got with that client in particular as an opportunity to provide to my children, I kind of had to make my list of pros and cons, and I had to make a very tough decision. So my poor husband had to overcompensate for me not being there. My mom had the iPad, you know, doing like the real-time video, and I did FaceTime with my son before and after the wedding. And to this day, I cry about it. And again, it was a very, very tough decision for me. But when I look at it from the practical standpoint, I also see that because I work with this client, I'm able to provide for my children opportunities. You know, they go to a wonderful school. We have wonderful family vacations. We do a lot of things because I work.
Yeah.
And because I have my business, and because I had to make these tough decisions in making them, unfortunately, not always the priority. And I think that that's one of the hardest things that we have to do as mom entrepreneurs, when we're faced with those specific challenges. Mm-hmm. Because we feel like horrible people when we make those tough decisions. And so for me, what's helped is surrounding myself with my family and with my friends and people that love and support me, so that they can be there for my kids. So yeah, my kids will miss me, but because there's so much love around them, they really don't notice that much. I mean, they'll tell me every once in a while, but they don't notice. And that's been a very big lesson for me, is I feel like as women, we tend not to accept the help that's being offered to us, because we see that, or we tend to think that it's a sign of weakness. Well, if I have all of these people helping me, I'm not being a good wife, I'm not being a good mother, I'm not a good entrepreneur. And what I have found is that it's not a lack by any means. It is not a lack of anything other than a lack of grace. We need to learn how to be graceful in accepting that help, and providing people with the opportunity that love and support us, providing them with the opportunity to be of service to us, because these people care about us enough, and how dare us deny them the opportunity to be of service to us.
No, I agree. I mean, I have my mum and my sister here that help me, and I definitely also think it's about finding what works for you, in the fact that, right, you know, for me, I prefer to pay somebody to come and help me clean the house, or maybe come and do the laundry.
Yes.
You know, then that frees me up to be with my son.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I don't want you to sit there beating yourself with twigs, thinking that, you know, I'm saying that I was with my son and you're not with yours.
Right.
When I did a living job as a nanny for 4 years with a high-profile family, you never knew what day of the week it was. Birthdays, Christmas, New Year, I was never home, you know. But I made those choices then. Right. I'm not saying that when he's 6, I might not have to miss a soccer game. I'm just saying right now, in this moment in time, I'm finding something that works for me.
for
you
you.
know?
And I think that that's the biggest message that we can give to other mom entrepreneurs today, Stella, is that it has to be what works for each individual. And again, it goes back to, you know, we're so concerned about what other people think, and we need to do a better job also of patting each other on the back. Kudos to you for giving up a lot of opportunities right now in your own career because you want to be there for your son. And kudos to me for making those tough decisions and growing my business to where it is so that I can enjoy that freedom now that I didn't used to have.
And
So
kudos to Valeska for going to happy hour on a Friday.
that's right. Kudos to Valeska. I have my own happy hour thing happening right now.
So how do you stay sane, ladies? How do you stay sane?
I don't stay sane. I don't say I am sane. I think I'm a little crazy. I mean, I joke all the time that I wish I was as organized and together as people think I am. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm a really good actress, I think. I think the other thing that I've learned to accept is that I'm operating on every level at about 70%. I'm not doing anything at 100%, right? And that's okay. Like, I might be behind the 8 ball quite often, but so far nothing has slipped through the cracks where it's been detrimental, you know? But I definitely stay sane to a degree by the self-care. Like, I make appointments with myself to take a walk, or I'll make an appointment with myself to go for a pedicure, because if I don't, it doesn't happen. You know? Like, I wouldn't break an appointment with you guys, but yet I would break an appointment with myself.
Absolutely.
So it's stuff like that for me.
Well, something I wanted to mention in, you know, you all talking about, you know, making that personal time for yourself. What's interesting and what I'm coming across as far as my personal struggle is the challenges I had when I had my firstborn versus when Jacques was born, and how different that was as far as the dynamics of having a newborn and then a 4-year-old, because with the newborn I didn't sleep. And on the contrary, I was more productive more than ever with work because I wasn't sleeping. So, you know, I was up at 4 a.m.
I don't know how you do it.
So
I don't know how you do it.
It's crazy. It was crazy. In that time frame, I was so productive. I got so much work done. And also it's easier because then with Xavier, you know, I can take him to this amazing indoor playground that's very small and confined. It's right there in front of me, so I can see him. I just look up and he's right there. So I was able to get a good 3 hours of like solid work done straight while Jacques took his nap since he was, you know, younger. So it was easier, and it was Wi-Fi. So it's indoor, he's right in front of me, he can't escape, and I was able to get so much work done that way. But then now he's 1.5, and now it's really difficult to really get some work in. And now that my son's 5, so it's this balance where, yeah, I have play dates that I can take my son to, but the majority of the time I'm actually at the play date because I'm, you know, mingling with the mom, you know, we're socializing. And what I'm getting at is now finding, okay, how to still bring in and getting work done. So it's like now I'm almost like, okay, my Tuesdays and Thursdays is my work days. So that's where, you know, my mother-in-law, I asked if she can help me out with my Tuesdays and Thursdays. And for whatever reason she can't do it, I found like my backup of babysitters because they are very high in demand in this neighborhood. So if I need to go down that route. And the third route that I go about and you know, having that support structure is also with my husband too. I coordinate with his schedule where, you know, he just has, you know, he's an entrepreneur. I mean, we're in business together. So he also needs to take time off and also help me out as well. The way I'm taking time off, you know, and taking the kids to martial arts and doing everything that needs to get done. In the beginning was interesting as far as the battle wars. I'll go into the husband thing later, but just getting a schedule in place is what I'm getting at. And then the support group, like you were saying earlier, Luly, about finding and not being shameful to ask for help, because it's a very give and take. I mean, not a give and take relationship. I just give. I'm always like to the mom, look, do you want me to bring him with me after school for 2 hours? Go get your errands done. Don't worry about it.
Exactly.
They're, you know, we live right across the street. It's not a big deal. It's, you know, do what you have to do. And they're so appreciative that, you know, that they have that time to run errands or do whatever it is they need to get done. And naturally, that's how our relationship have evolved, where some of them were like, look, I'll watch the kids, or have Xavier sleep over, you know, because I watched her kids when she had to go to a show. So it becomes that feeling of community amongst the moms where we're all just helping each other out, because LA particularly is a very transient city. So there is, you know, Miami, that's the difference with Miami, since it's Hispanic driven, we're very, you know, all our families are there.
That's
so
right.
we have like 16 babysitters that we can count on, right? Because we have all our immediate family, versus LA is very transient. So you're just counting on friendships, which is, you know, it's been great. And I've been so blessed, and I feel so happy to find all, you know, these great group of women here, and gentlemen too, for my husband and all. I was, with my husband, it was interesting. Because in the beginning, because he felt that he was working, that typical mentality, I don't need to take out, I mean, he has to take out the trash, but even just that argument itself was a pain in the butt. It's like, look, I'm balancing the books. I'm the one that's taking care of the kids and running them everywhere, making sure the house is clean, making sure, you know, running the household, you know what I mean? Doing all of it.
Yes.
You need to put your part too sometimes, you know, like help out maybe with the mopping or helping out with this, because sometimes the cleaning lady, there's been times that, you know, her car broke down, or the bus, she missed the bus and couldn't make it, and the house still needs to get cleaned. And so just finding and really, you know, feeling that burden off my shoulders, because there was a point where I felt like, my God, I can't take care of everything. I can't.
But you know what I think also happens, Valeska, is that especially with our husbands, is that what we do is that we like to drop hints, and we drop about 52 hints. Well, they don't operate that way. They don't get the hints, and then we get mad at them because they haven't gotten the 52 hints that we've given them, and then we blow up on them, and they're like, where did this come from? What are you talking about? So I think it's really important. And again, it happened in my marriage, you know, talking about what I said earlier about pay now or you pay later, but we all pay. I had a 6-month-old, a 2.5-year-old, and I had started my marketing company. Go figure. So for me, I was very stupid back then, and I had a little report card of, this is what I did, what have you done? and I quickly realized that was making my marriage suffer, and I wasn't thanking my husband for the things that he was doing. Right, and my husband does a lot. I mean, the man is a gem. If I could clone him and give him away to all the women that deserve good men, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I think that also as wives, we tend to, first of all, not show the gratitude to our husbands, and second of all, we don't communicate effectively to them as to, you know, to your point, Valeska, of, you know, do you mind giving me a quick hand so that I can get a manicure? And I'm not going to do a pedicure today so that it's quick. But maybe in 2 weeks I could do a manicure and a pedicure. How does that sound?
We women take, yes.
You know, and maybe, you know, making it more of a conversation where they're a part of the decision. You know, in my big fat Greek wedding, what did they say? The man's the head, but the woman's the neck. The woman, we're able to manipulate them so easily, and sometimes we don't use the manipulation tactics for positive as much as we use them for negative.
Right. No, I mean, I went ahead, I mean, and that's what I mean, like, that was the transition, and we all experienced it at one point of our marriage, because guess what? You know, it's like when you were, you know, dating versus when you got married versus now you're bringing kids into the mix, you know, all those dynamics change, and having that conversation where I'm like, babe, I really need help. Like, seriously, if you can help me with this, this, and this, and this, I will be able to get this, and this done. And in the last, I would say, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, it's been amazing. Like, he really turned around and is like full throttle. It's like, you know, I'm bringing the bread too, just like you. So it should be 50-50, right? As far as balancing.
But that's because, you're communicating that, Valeska. You're communicating effectively. You're not dropping the ridiculous hints and expecting him to pick up on them. You're saying, I need your help, and you're being specific, you know, and you know, going back to what Stella says, it's a lot of compromise and it's a lot of boundaries. But in addition, I think we're finding another point, which is effective communication. You know, very important.
I have
Well,
go
can
ahead.
you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to say something that now that I have a 19-year-old, a lot of what you're talking about, um, it's so much, it's so worth it because, Christian graduated from high school. I had that whole year doing the applications. It took a lot of time, and he's never home now. He's now working part-time. He's going to school. He goes out. He's here when he studies and when he wants food, which I have no problem with because, you know, but let me tell you something. I totally, like, I allowed him, I let him be. And you're going to miss it so much. And so
Yes.
whatever you're doing right now, I'm telling you, I dedicated myself and I gave up a lot of the corporate thing and all that stuff. I let go of a lot of things because I was, a single mom, so I didn't have the husband that really helped me.
Right.
And but now looking back, it's so worth it because Valeska knows, like, my relationship with Christian is so, I mean, it's very cool. It's so fun. We have a very fun relationship. He respects me. I respect him a lot. And we have a beautiful relationship. It's very tight, but also I give him his freedom a lot. And so even though now he's never home, I have such an amazing feeling of what I gave during those years. So you know what?
That's
I
awesome.
I sacrificed a lot of things, but it wasn't sacrifice. It was really, I wouldn't even say it's sacrifice because maybe at the time I sacrificed, but no, in exchange for sacrifice, I got like the best thing in the world. Like this son right now, no one can do anything to take away this relationship. It's so priceless. So whatever you think that is sacrifice, it's really not. It's
Yeah,
really
that's a
not a
good point.
sacrifice.
It's a good
So don't,
ROI, right, Blanca?
yeah, let me tell
I
you,
have,
yeah, like Valeska knows, like, and Christian's like such a great kid. Like he is a fun, like he makes me laugh all the time, and
Yeah, he's
he's a
funny.
positive kid. Yeah, he's funny. He's focused, and like a lot of the things that I used to tell him, like I was very much into positive and all this other stuff, and now it's like he's joining these leadership clubs in FIU, and he's doing all.
Awesome.
He has taken a class volunteer of public speaking, and he's doing presentations and all this thing, and it's like I look at him and I'm like, wow, like, so somehow all these things that I did are having an effect in it, and just the happiness that I get from these little things. Like last night I stayed up with him till 1 in the morning because he was practicing this presentation he had, and then it was like he was so happy when he was leaving because I had to be, he's 19, 6'2", and he's like, mom, I need to practice, and I'm like, okay, and I helped him and I stayed up, and you know what, he left like singing and whistling, and that just like makes my heart sing. So it's not a sacrifice, trust me, it's not. So that's all I can
Nice.
say. I mean, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and now I can, have more time to do all the projects like my new babies, So
Right.
my blog is my baby. I've been, focusing on my digital agency this year, which is my work, but now I kind of had to let go a little bit of the time with the blog, and I felt bad because last year I got I'm a member of Latism, which is Latino in social media, and last year I got an award as best inspirational blogger, and here this year I was like so busy and I haven't had time to blog because I blog about inspiration, and I wasn't really, I was like so busy, so I would tweet and stuff, but I would tell, whenever I would see my friends, like, I can't blog because I'm not in that mode. So then, but it's my little baby and I need to nurture it. So next year, that's my goal right now, is like, now what am I going to give up? Certain, maybe more events. I've been
Right.
doing a lot of events. So now I want to go back to what I love, because this year I found myself stressed again because like it was all this technical work and, building my VizRed business. And then I said, okay, now what am I going to give up? Like, go back
Right.
again to giving up. I
Right.
want to go back to my blogging. So what's it going to take? So that's where I'm at right now. So I'm spending a lot of time like in silence and taking more quiet time, saying no to certain events because, now I'm invited to 1 million events,
Right.
and which is fun. It's great. I love it, but I'm being more selective. I have more time because I don't have a husband and I don't have a kid. So like you moms, I don't know how you do it, but
The same way
but
you
now,
did it.
I know. So now my baby is my little blog, and how I want to nurture that and expand my voice, and it just so happens to be that it's a blog about inspiration. So I have to find that quiet time, because I don't want to go out there and write like just to write, because to fill up the space on my blog. I don't do that,
Yeah.
Like, and so that's giving up things all the time, is constantly letting go.
But I don't know that it's giving up, Blanca. It seems to me it's almost like stripping away at the things that aren't important, you know?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
energy. You got to keep your energy level up. So sometimes
Yeah.
you got to give it up so that you can provide.
Yeah, letting go. Yeah, it's not giving up. It's letting
Yeah.
go to bring in something, keep on bringing in something better. So, like, I'm always looking ahead. It's like, okay, where am I now? And then how do I want the next 6 months or the next year to be? Because I can never plan 10 years ahead. Like, there's just no way. I have an idea, but it just never happens the way I think it is. But I'm glad, because I've been surprised. Like, this whole business was a total surprise for me. Like,
Yeah.
it was totally unexpected. Totally.
Yeah.
So.
Stella, is there anything you would like to say as we wrap up the show?
I was just going to tell you guys a funny story about communication.
Okay.
We have a wash hamper in our bedroom, and I call it the magic hamper, because my husband fills it up, and it goes off to the laundry, and it gets washed and folded, and it comes back into the bedroom and put on the bed, and he gets to put it away. So I kept saying to him, how's that magic hamper working for you? And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, well, you could help put this laundry away. So, the gentle hints didn't work.
Right.
So one night on my way out to work at about 9 p.m., because I was doing night shift with a newborn, I dumped all the clean laundry on his side of the bed. So when he went to bed, he had to put the laundry away so he could get in bed.
Exactly.
So sometimes the passive-aggressive doesn't work. You have to be very direct.
Exactly.
You have to be directly aggressive.
Yeah, he said, you did that deliberately. I said, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me, my mother-in-law also told me a similar story with her husband, where she got tired of him just leaving the clothes on the floor. So one day she just grabbed his clothes, put it out in the balcony or the yard or whatnot, and it happened to rain that night. He's like, how come you left my clothes outside? She goes, well, they were on the floor. I mean, why would you, whatever she told him. Never again he left clothes on the floor. So I guess her hint really worked. So is there anything, Luly, you want to say as we wrap it up?
No, I don't think that we can stress enough that we need to just let go of the perception of being that great wife, mom, and entrepreneur. I really feel strongly in doing what's right for you and your life. You heard today very different perspectives and different walks of life and different journeys. And I'm very grateful for my journey. And of course, if I could live my life again, I probably would have made different choices. But at the same time, I wouldn't be where I am today. So sometimes you really can't have those regrets. I'm very grateful for the opportunities and the obstacles that have been presented to me in my life. And I think, again, just to all those mom entrepreneurs out there, just do what's right for you and forget about everything else, I think is the biggest message for tonight for me.
Bravo.
Yay.
Bravo. Let me do some sound effects to that.
Where does Stella live?
I live in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay, great.
Yes. So thank you, everyone. We definitely have a lot more talks coming up in our show. We will be talking about discipline. We're going to talk about when to say no. I mean, there's so many different topics we have lined up. So stay tuned. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Okay, bye.